build your freaking brand as big as you possibly can, right? And understand where the real money is, right? Understand where the real money is and get equity. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Melanin Money Show. Carter, how you feeling, bro? How you feeling,
I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling great. I feel good. I look good. You know what I'm saying?
Here you go. You know, I forgot to schedule my barbershop appointment too late, so I didn't get a chance to get one. But the good news is I was like, this will give Carter a chance to, shine a little bit. I know how hard it is. I know how, bro.
Oh my God.
I know you be fighting for your life. You know what I'm saying? So I figured I'd give you a break.
My life out here.
I figured I'd give you a break. But nah, man, we feel good to be back. We are, as you guys know, so a couple of housekeeping updates. We are still on tour for the podcast Proof and Profits tour. So our next stop is in New York. So for those of y'all who missed the Houston stop, make sure y'all tap in. It's going to be a vibe. Got a special guest, got a special host. Will be announced soon, but make sure you get your tickets.
Yeah, you might want to get the tickets before the guests be announced, because once the guests get announced, then tickets gonna go crazy. So like, if I were you, I would just go to proofandprofits.com and grab your tickets right now.
Big facts. And you know what? We'll be nice. We'll be generous. If you use code PROFIT, we'll even give you a discount. We even give you a little discount just because we rock with y'all, because y'all listen to the show, right? So why would we not? Why would we not show y'all?
No gate, as my homie JP says, no gatekeeping around here, bro. We go.
Big facts. Big fact. Another exciting update. So this will be Carter's actually his first time hearing it. I wanted to break it live on the show. We officially cracked the top 100 on business and investing podcasts. So I think we were like 89 or something like that. And so for those of y'all who don't know, there are a lot of podcasts. I mean, there are a ton. I mean, y'all see it every time on your feed. It's somebody in front of a microphone. And so to crack, be in the top 90 is a really amazing feat. So we appreciate you guys. We're coming for top 50 in a few months, top 10 by top of the year. So we're documenting the journey in real time. So appreciate y'all support on that. And if you love the podcast, one way to help it reach more people is to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching us on YouTube, definitely subscribe. You guys have been really engaged in the comments, so we really, really appreciate that. And just keep doing that. That helps us grow. We are so grateful for your support. Then we can keep doing it for free, right? Yep. We want to keep doing it for free. So can y'all help us help y'all, right? All y'all got to do is show us a little bit of love, and we'll keep on keeping on.
And we're about to crack that 20,000 YouTube subscribers too.
Yes, sir.
That's coming soon. So again, y'all tap in on Apple Podcasts, leave a review there. If you like to watch us and see this fresh haircut I just got, you know what I'm saying? Tap in on YouTube, y'all. We got a lot of great things happening, man. I'm excited for what's to come, bro.
Absolutely. Brick by brick, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like I always like to share the journey, because especially on my show as well. So as you guys know, Carter has a show on the channel. I have a show on the channel. We have this show together, and every show airs every week, right? And so we are regular human beings just like everybody else, right? Life comes up, stuff happens, but we find a way to stay consistent and show up. But I in my episodes, I always try to, when I have one of those moments when I realize oh shoot, I don't have an episode in the vault, I actually let y'all know. And I do that intentionally because I want to always showcase that the same struggles that anybody else has, but still decides to show up, you guys have the same capability, right? We are no different. We just want to be lighthouses and not rescue boats, right? We just want to show you an example of what's possible so that y'all can do the same thing.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get into it. So guys, we actually want to try something different for this. That's exactly why I don't have my messages come to my computer. That's the reason. But guys, while I turn off my notifications on here, this episode, we decided to do something different, right? We decided to, Jesus Christ.
Get it together, brother. We decided to do some talk about some current events because a lot of the times, guys, we're interviewing amazing guests, which you all seem to love just based off the feedback and the reviews that we're getting. But when we interview guests, we don't have the opportunity to talk about current events. And this is the Melanin Money Show. We want to talk about money, financials, what's going on with the world, what's going on with the economy, right? And so while we have a chance to just sit together and not have a guest, we want to talk about some current events. And a lot has happened since the last time we've done one of these episodes. So we're really, we're really excited to talk about the current events. And like, y'all gonna just be a fly on the wall on me and GA talking about some things that, that we think are interested in going on in the world right now and how we're going to adjust and how we're going to, and what our opinions are about these events. So let's get to it, G.
Let's get into it. All right. So guys, first up on the list is I saw that Shaq, 50 Cent, and Kenya Barris have made a bid to buy BET. Right now, this is pretty big because, as you know, 50 Cent has been dealing with a lot with Stars. He has all the top shows apparently on Stars and has been having a tough time with them. And so being able to buy into a Black network, well, and once it was Black owned, so now I think the big news around it is now it will be Black owned again. I think that's really, really important because sometimes I think people forget how powerful media is, right? Media influences culture. Media influences how people think, right? Media is so powerful. And it wasn't until recent years where media became decentralized and we could do what we're doing right now, hop on a podcast and broadcast to potentially hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, right? Like before that, it was a gate, right? Those gatekeepers, like you had to like go through a process. You couldn't just get on TV. You couldn't just broadcast your own message. And so narratives were controlled. And there was a lot of power that we didn't have as a result of it. So media is a very powerful medium. And so if they're able to buy BET, I'm excited to see what type of impact that can have for sure.
Absolutely, man. And like, you actually sent me a reel about this where Rashad from Earn Your Leisure was talking about like how, you never see a Black person own the Chinese restaurant in Chinatown, right? If you go to Chinatown, you see Asian people that own the restaurants. If you go to a Jewish neighborhood, you see Jewish people own all the stores. But when you come to a Black neighborhood, you don't see Black people own everything in the neighborhood, right? And now it even comes down to media. Like BET is our number one network for the culture. It's not even owned by us, bro.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think this is like a big step in us starting to own the things that we consume. Right, which is what's holding us back as a culture wholeheartedly is just we consume. We know how to consume, right? But we don't necessarily know how to own the things that we consume. So I think this will be a big step in the right direction.
If you can control what a person thinks, you don't have to worry about their actions, right? And so that's why media is so powerful. And the more that we can control our own narrative, control media, the more we can have a stronger influence over culture, which inherently will have a stronger influence on the way that we show up in the world. So it's important, guys. That's why we're doing it, right? Like we show up every week, rain, sleet, or snow. Why? Is this the money maker for our business? No, right? It's because we understand the power in media in being able to impact people at scale, right? And it's bigger than money. And so everybody else knows that, which is why they own the media outlets. And so now it's our turn. So super excited to see what that looks like.
Black entertainment television not going to be owned by a Black person.
That's pretty crazy when you think about it. All right. Sure. So another cool update is amongst all the other billionaire boss moves that this brother makes, Jay-Z, he has recently made a bid to bring a casino to Times Square, right? He actually did an open letter. I want to say, was it New York Post or New York Times? One of them, basically saying why him and Rock Nation should be the group that bring the casino to New York, right? So I was just like, man, another one, right? As y'all know, Jay is always up to something, whether it's selling a percentage of Tidal to Square, Cash App, whether it's, what else did he do recently? He sold a percentage of Duce. He sold a percentage of Ace of Spades. Like, so when I say my brother be cashing out and stacking his money, like
here's my thing when it comes to Jay-Z. He said a line that I think went over a lot of people's heads, and people didn't go deep enough to analyze it. And what's the song? God did. He said, "How many billionaires that came out of Hove crib? I'm counting.
I count three.
I count three.
And Ree.
Me and Ree. But look, listen to that. That's true. But none of their billions came out of making music. All those billionaires who he created, he got them on a platform. And I'm more than sure that Jay-Z was the person in their ear, like, look, Ree, this music shit is cool, but like, you see where most of my money coming in. Maybe you should venture out. Hey, yay, this music stuff is cool, but I'm telling you, I want my money going. Like, even like, he makes money off of their music. But he like, I'm sure he had a real enough conversation with them, like, yo, this is what we need to be focusing at. And the three billionaires he made, and LeBron, the fourth, they made most of their money outside of what they quote unquote are most famous for. And I think we all got to understand that.
And even, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a multi-layered point, right? Right. So the first point is we always say that you have to create a waterfall. People always talk about 7 streams of income, right? You create a waterfall, and if anything, you can take that waterfall and then go buy income. But bigger than that, when you become world-class at one thing, right, it gives you the brand leverage to be able to do other things, right? Like, so Louis Vuitton wouldn't have wanted to partner with Rihanna if she didn't have a huge brand. Adidas wouldn't have wanted to partner with Ye if he didn't have a huge brand. So not only is brand a huge asset, right? But when you do make a lot of money, right, starting to pivot your alignment to other things outside of just entertainment, right? So for example, even with this podcast, while this is not currently our biggest moneymaker, we understand the power of media because what is it going to do? It's going to amplify our brand. And what does that do? The trust of one leads to the acceptance of many. If we have y'all's trust, right, y'all are only going to accept the brands that partner with us because y'all trust us, right? They can't come directly to y'all. So the bigger we build our brand, the more those corporations have to pay to get access to our audience. And as long as we maintain integrity of not partnering with anybody that we don't believe in, right, we will continue to maintain y'all's trust, even more so because now we can charge them instead of charge our customers. So that is the multi-layered point, is build your freaking brand as big as you possibly can, right? And understand where the real money is, right? Understand where the real money is and get equity. Get equity.
I think this is off topic, but I think Ryan Reynolds made more money in one day than he made his entire acting career. Selling, I forget what company, it was some type of telephone company he had.
Yeah, so does the T-Mobile. Yeah.
Sure. He made more money in one day by selling that company than he did in his entire acting career. But he used his acting career leverage to build up that company and be the spokesperson from it and then sell it. But Jay-Z has done that like 5 times. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
That's different.
It's a blueprint, guys. So it's like so for my influencers, for my digital creators, right? End all be all, like it doesn't have to be your end all be all just creating content on the internet, right? Just understand your end game. The same way I hope my strippers, right? Well, not my strippers, but these strippers. Hold on now.
Okay now.
These strippers understand, right? That don't have to be your end game, right? You know what I'm saying? Get your money, but that ain't got to be your end game. So how can you go into it understanding that, right? They always say build a business thinking with the end in mind. How can you go into your brand building, content creation, whatever it is you're doing, knowing that you want to use it as a leverage mechanism? And the crazy part about it is you don't necessarily have to know all the ways you want to leverage it. You just got to know that I'm building my brand this way because of the leverage it will give me. Kevin Hart and The Rock, I would say in the last 7-year span, they have probably done it almost better than anybody, right? Kevin Hart has a vegan fast food restaurant. He has one of the best, smoothest tequilas, Gran Carmino, now.
I had that, hey, bro, I'll tell you something. I had that the other day. I'm like, okay.
Hey, Madge bought me, I don't know which one you had, but she bought me the black one, the top one for my birthday. I haven't opened it yet. I said, I'm going to say this one for a Melanin Money milestone. I don't know, we got to pick one, but I haven't opened it yet. And we're going to sip that. It's like, because the regular one is smooth. So
yeah,
this
I had the regular one. Yeah, I had the regular one.
Yeah, apparently this one is more smooth than that. So I was like, I'm going to save that for something. But yeah, so Kevin Hart and The Rock, I mean, have continued to just leverage their brand. And The Rock's tequila brand is valued at over $1 billion, right?
Yeah, did he sell it already?
I don't know if he's exited completely. I know he might have definitely done a partial exit. I'm not sure if he exited.
You think it's worth $1 billion already?
I know it is.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and look, Conor McGregor, same thing. He made money with his Irish whiskey company that he did his entire boxing and UFC career.
Right.
Like, again,
right.
I'm just taking no lie, bro. I'm just going all in on brand, bro. Like, hey, look, GBA, go all in on brand. And everything else will come later, all right?
Hey, aren't you tired of buying courses in those emotional states when you want to get a result, but then you actually don't do anything with the course? Do you know on average the completion rate for a course is about 2%? But here's the thing, it's not entirely your fault. The problem is you buy the course, but you don't have access to the source who actually created it.
See, that's why we're doing something different. With the Melanin Millionaire Club, you're not just going to get access to courses. You'll get access to the people who created it so you can get your questions answered. Because it's not just about learning, it's about taking that information so you can start earning. So the Melanin Millionaire Club is going to give you access to courses, but not just that. It's an entire university of information. We have financial flicks. We have hundreds of previous recordings. But more than that, y'all, we have an amazing community of people just like you who are trying to become a first-generation millionaire. So like GA said, like you can survive without community, but you can't thrive without community. So this is the place you need to be, right?
100%, because here's the thing. If it was just about information, we'd all be billionaires with six packs. So that's why every single Monday, we're going to set the tone for your week with Melanin Millionaire Mondays, where our entire community is going to meet up. The energy is going to be high. We're going to set the intention for what we're going to execute on so we can move the needle forward, and Carter and I and the rest of our team can keep you accountable.
So that's enough information. You see the rest in the club. All you got to do, click the link below, sign up, and start your journey to your first millionaire year. Let's get it, man.
Let's go.
Right.
But
I told Carter last year, I was like, bro, if you think that when it's all said and done, that you're not gonna have the Melanin Money store ain't gonna have a tequila or some brand of ours, we ain't gonna have a partnership with a tequila company, you got me messed up.
Hey, look, okay, and then we can write off the flight to the location to go source the tequila. Y'all ain't ready for that conversation yet.
Listen, start with the end in mind.
Start with the end in mind. But I think a good transition, out of this and just talking about just like, money in general coming into Black culture, right? Recently, we just saw in the news, it's probably one of the biggest breaking stories that we had in the last week. The California's reparation committee. Let me pull this back up. So the California reparations panel, right, approves payments for Black residents for up to $1.2 million each.
Yeesh.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. The first thing I thought about when this news broke, you ever seen the Dave Chappelle? No. I mean, I shouldn't have moved from California, but anyway, you had to be a resident for like years because how long you stayed in California depends on how much money.
Depends on how much you get. Gotcha.
Exactly. But the first thing I thought about, have you ever seen that Dave Chappelle episode when Black people get their reparations?
Yeah.
So that was the first thing hilarious. I thought about. But no, on a serious note, like, so the panel approves. This does not mean it's approved. This means that the panel approved. It still has to go through all the court systems in California with the governor and all that stuff to get a final stamp of approval. But they finally came together with a proposal to pitch to the state of California. Now, what this would mean is the longer you have stayed as a California resident, the more money you would have gotten. And they're giving reparations for mass incarceration, for redlining, for all these things that happen to California residents over this time period. And if it gets approved, they'll look at how long you've been staying in California, where you were living, and they'll cash you out a check. Now, everybody now will get 1.2 million, but that'd be the max somebody. And that would be crazy because my thought is if California adopts it, other states are gonna be like, yo.
Right. The South definitely better adopt that.
Right, how we gonna start
North South Carolina? Shit. I mean, that's the slavery hotbed.
I would assume we would have started in Alabama somewhere, but
Alabama, Mississippi for sure.
Crazy.
Crazy. So yeah, shout out to California. Shout out to the residents out there. I know I got some long lost cousins out there. So
hey, if you didn't, you go find them.
When you get your check, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna help you keep it. You know what I'm saying? That's one a little piece.
Yeah. But two things that really stood out to me with this news is like, it is real talk. You can't give Black people this much money without giving them a plan, bro. Like, it would be irresponsible to give Black people, or just because I'm talking about my people. I love my people, but I also know my people. It'd be irresponsible to give somebody who has no financial literacy potentially $1 million and just let them off in a while. Like, that would be anarchy, right? So if this does get approved, what I would love to see is the same panel that approved it. They should have a financial literacy program that everybody should go through, not in order to get their reparations, but like it should be somewhat mandatory to attend a few of these classes before you get your money, so that you can, not that you're doing stupid with it, but so you don't be in the same position or worse position 2, 3, 4 months later, or 2, 3, 4 years later. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
because you know what the thing is like, you are who you are. Everything else is just the amplifier, right? So if you get more money and you're bad with money, it's gonna be more amplified. You might find yourself actually in a worse situation. And it's hard for people to fathom that, because it's like, nah, bro, I'll take my chances. Let me get that 1.1. But it's like, you just don't understand that. Like, for example, if someone already has debt and then they go get a big line of credit, right? And they already couldn't prove that they can manage the $5,000 limit, they are going to really drown it. Nah, if I can just get that line of credit, I'm gonna flip that. And now no, sir. No, you're not. You're going to be in a worse situation. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to some people is a bad credit score, to the point where they can't get approved for any more credit, so that they don't get in a deeper hole. Right. Yeah. So California, if y'all, y'all giving it to Black people, we're Melanin Money. It seems like there's some alignment there.
We'll come in and teach you from classes.
Give us a little government contract. You know what I'm saying? We'll come in and take care of things.
Two quick things with that. Well, like to your point, there's a reason why 70% of lottery winners are worse off than they were. 36 months after someone was lottery, 70% of people are in a worse situation than they were before they won the lottery.
Big fact.
And that is no mistake. That's a very large sample size and a very high probability that you're going to be worse off, because you didn't know what to do with the little you had. You're not going to know what to do with the overflow. And speaking of like credit score and stuff, so I was raised in a household before I got financial literacy, like, just don't get credit cards. Like my whole family was raised on that. So as you know, I just helped my sister buy her house last week.
Big facts. Shout out to Carter. Big facts.
I FaceTimed her today. I was like, how was it? She said it just hits different when you own the place. I was like, look at God.
You didn't tell me how she responded about the furniture though. How did she respond?
Oh, she was crying. I mean, like it was actually almost a feeling of guilt. But I'm just like, no, like, we're not letting any of the old stuff that went in your old house. No, we getting new everything. You're not going to get a new house with old furniture. That's hustling backwards. You go get new everything. So she was grateful. And I got a room there. She's furnishing. Use a little bit at the first my room when I come to Chicago.
Dope. Nah, I love to hear it.
Yeah, the funniest thing was her loan officer, when he looked at her credit profile, he said, like, in my 20 years of being a loan officer, I have never seen anybody with literally nothing bad on their credit score. Because she was so scared of credit that she didn't get anything, right?
Yeah.
And, you know what I'm saying? So, and I was gonna get her there, but I'm like, let me get you the house first, and then I'll get you a credit card, so I'll teach you how to work it. But literally, by not having any credit, she saved herself from herself.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think a lot of people need to maybe try that. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, big facts. You know what? We give Dave Ramsey a really hard time. Most people do. Because there's two types of financial education, or education, period. There is teaching you how to play to win, and there's teaching you how to play not to lose, right? And so Dave Ramsey, he is the latter, right? And so he's a very, very abrasive message, but at the end of the day, at his core, he has helped a lot of people get out of consumer debt, right? And all that good stuff. And so that's just his. I guess from his approach, he's like, I can't save the world. I can't trust the fact that you gonna get that credit card and you gonna know what to do with it. But what I do know is if you don't have any credit or any debt, it's pretty hard to mess that up. right?
Yeah.
So shout out to Dave Ramsey. That's probably the first time I ever said that on camera. Because some people do need to be saved from themselves.
Yeah, but it's like you train the unskilled player how to play not to lose. Like if you're up 30 in a basketball game and the bench comes in, the bench is playing not to lose the game. Right. Because they're not skilled enough to know how to win. Right. So like I agree with that people should play not to lose until they get the skill set to be able to play to win.
Right. Big facts. You know big facts. And I just thought of the next episode. I'll share that with you offline. I know exactly what we're going to talk about. It's going to be real good too. All right, that means y'all better come back next week because it's going to be fire.
Yeah.
All right. So now that was good. I like that. Bank failures. So we have seen a few bank failures over the past several weeks as feds have continued to raise rates to curb inflation and just cool the market. They are not showing signs of like letting up, right? Like granted, they only increased it by a quarter of a point this past time, but these regional banks are suffering, right? They are
now let me ask you this. Action forefront, right?
Yeah.
This is just my thought process, but you're a better financial advisor and economist than I am. If banks are able to increase so inflation is happening, which is causing banks to increase the rate of return for savings accounts, right?
Yeah.
And so that means they have to pay. So that means they have to pay out more to people who are keeping their money there.
Yep.
And because they have to pay more, it's cutting into their bottom line, which causing them to fail.
So let me zoom out and give you, I think, the simplest way that I can explain it, the way I learned it, right? So when we think about inflation, we think about recessions, here's how the economic cycle happens, right? The way it happens is if everybody only made the amount of money and then only spent based upon what they made, the economy wouldn't grow. It would just remain flat, right? It's like, because your income is going to be tied to your level of productivity. So if I'm a worker that earns 50K and the most I can spend after expenses, let's just call it 10K, that means our economy is going to remain flat. So what does the government do, or what does the Federal Reserves do to boost the economy? They say, well, shoot, we need to incentivize people to spend and give them a little leverage. So then they lower rates, which means you're incentivized to borrow. Because like, well, shoot, 1%, 2%, why wouldn't I borrow this money? So then you borrow money, which means you're spending more than your actual productivity. So now there's more money in circulation than there is based upon true productive output, right? Under normal circumstances, that's great. What happens is people will get greedy and then they borrow more than they should at 2%. So I'm gonna get this house, I'm gonna spend money on this. And then from a consumerism standpoint, they spend way too much money on consumable goods. And then now what happens is because people are spending more money, it's creating increased demand. And because it's creating increased demand, because people are spending more than they should based upon the way our economy works, now what happens is the businesses have to raise prices to curb demand. But then here's the crazy part. Here's what really makes it all messed up. Now the businesses are anticipating that this is going to keep happening. And the businesses also have access to low interest rates. So what do? Well, shoot, let's hire, let's build the bigger factory, let's get more inventory, right? So now the business is over leveraged, the consumer is over leveraged, everything's overpriced. Then because everything's overpriced, then at some point it's like, oh shoot, okay, this is unsustainable because the middle American, the average American now is being priced out. Because what I always tell people is that inflation, or saying that something costs more, is a rich man's perspective to inflation. It's costing more to fill up my tank. Some people can't fill up their tank now, right? Like it ain't just it's costing them more, and that's where the breaking point happens. It's like, okay, now we got to cool this thing off. So what we got to do is we have to now incentivize people to not spend the money. How do we do that? Well, people think the banks are safe. Let's raise the rate to save to give them the incentive to keep money in the bank. If their money remains in the bank, what are they not doing? They're not spending, right? Then on top of that, if we're raising rates, these businesses who got that debt during the recession, during the boom, now it's costing them more to carry that debt because a lot of their rates were variable. So now the cost of capital, so now on their balance sheet is being charged more to service the debt. Well, where are we going to cut? Because we got to pay the debt. We got to cut personnel. We cut people. Now they're fired. Now those people don't have income. Now they don't have the income to spend. And subsequently,
or pay the loans back.
Or pay the loans back, which then hurts the bank. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually that cools off the economy because not as many people are working, which means they're not spending. And the people who do have a little bit of money, they're scared and they're incentivized to keep their money in the bank. So that money stays in the bank. And then ultimately, that's how we get here. So.
All right, y'all. Hey, look, if y'all didn't get Econ 101, there you go. There you go.
Hey, just gave it to y'all. So regional banks, to answer your question, the reason why they are feeling it is because now when they are lending out money, they don't have nearly as much margin, right? Before they were able to get literally basically 5% just when they put their money back in U.S. Treasuries. Now, because they're giving out by almost closer to 5%, they don't have the margin to be able to substantiate it, and they're not as big, so they can't withhold like the ebbs and flows. And so that's why we're seeing these regional banks, go down, which sucks, but good for JP Morgan and the big guys.
Yeah, JP is acquiring a lot of banks.
Right.
JP
Speaking of one thing we didn't have on the current events list, shout out to Apple. So Apple recently. Apple, of course, in partnership with Goldman Sachs. But Apple, I don't know the exact dollar amount. I want to say like 20. It's like 20 billion, right? 20 billion in new savings just off of their recent launch.
Oh, with the 4.5%.
Yeah. I'm about to look it up. I don't want to be wrong. Apple new deposits. But yeah, I want to say it's close to 20 billion. Apple savings accounts draw. Oh no, I was wrong. It's like 1 billion. But still, it's been like 2 weeks. Yeah, so Apple launched their savings, the new savings account, right? 4.5%. Actually, I'm the money test dummy, so I had to try it out. But yeah, so 4.5%, super strong, which full circle moment, power of brand. Nobody thinks of Apple as a bank, but because they trust the brand of Apple, when Apple says, hey, we're going to open up a banking partnership, people flock to it. So see how full circle that is? Guys, brand is so important. But shout out to Apple because I definitely went ahead and signed up for that thing and tested it out. So
Of course you did. And I think the last thing we want to talk about here is, speaking of everything that's happening with the economy, we now have 40-year mortgage term loans, right? And I was shocked when this came out, but shout out to MG, the mortgage guy. He made a post really explaining it because I think it was oversold to the media. It just wasn't
as with everything, right?
As with everything, right? For clickbait. He's like, there are no legitimate 40-year mortgage. What you're hearing now from this 40-year mortgage standpoint is that this 40-year mortgage is nothing more than a 10-year mortgage extension for people who already have mortgages and they're in lieu of defaulting. So you can't go to the bank and buy a house today and go get a 40-year mortgage, right? This is for people who already have 30-year mortgages. And because everything is shrinking, like you said, they now might not have the money to afford their mortgage. So instead of letting the bank letting them default on the mortgage, they're saying, hey, we can extend your loan out 10 more years. And now instead of you having to pay $2,000, you don't have to pay $1,500, right? Now you're going to pay more interest, but at least you don't lose your house, right?
Right.
So that the 40-year mortgage full circle moment is just a strategy that banks are using because they know that people are hurting and they're giving them more leeway on extending their payments so they don't lose their home.
Big facts. So yeah, I thought that was interesting too. But at the same token, I guess where my mind goes is like, I don't ever see me buying a house. It would have to be like the best thing since sliced bread where I would see myself owning that home for 40 years or 30 years or however long, right? So for me, I never really care about 30-year mortgages or whatever the case may be. It's like, okay, I'm looking at it from a vantage point. Is this a good deal right now, right? Based upon how I'm buying it. And as long as that lines up, right, I'm Gucci because there's no way I'm not going to have this house for 30 years anyway. My goal is to ride up the market wave at a certain point, probably exit it, especially if I'm living in the house. If I'm not living in it, hopefully I have a favorable rate and then somebody else is paying down the mortgage anyway, so it doesn't even matter, right? Yeah. So for me, I never really get caught up on 15, 30 year, whatever the case may be, because I know that I probably bought it at a good deal and I have an exit strategy anyway that's well before 30 years.
Yeah.
This is not 1950. Who is living in the same house for 30
in the same state for 40 years, let alone same house.
Crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy. It's like, I was just thinking the other day before we got on the podcast, I was like, you ever had like so much exciting news, but you like can't spill your candy in the lobby just yet? Like we got so many exciting things coming up, but it's just like not time to release all of it. So just make sure you tune in to every episode because as time goes on, we will continue to let you guys know about these exciting updates. And we want you guys to be the first to know. But thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Melanin Money Show. If you like this episode where we had an opportunity to give you guys our perspective and feedback on some current events, let us know. We'd love to do it again. If you don't like it, that's okay. We're probably still going to do it anyway. Nah, I'm just kidding. We real talk, but we definitely want to know y'all's feedback because this was something new for us. We had fun. Hopefully you did too. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Peace.